Let's keep our patriotism alive here with the American League. Jake, where would you like to begin?
I would like to begin on the East Coast because we are elite East Coasters. East Coast bias, baby.
I'm North Coast. North Coast elite. Just clarify that, please. Different kind of coastal.
But you are from the East Coast.
I know.
It's in your blood,
but
baby.
Now my North Coast bias is showing. So we're going to start in the American League Central. No, just kidding. Tell me about the East, the AL East that everyone talks about.
Baltimore Orioles are leading the division right now by a game after their miraculous victory over the New York Yankees on the final day of the first half. Boy, oh boy, was that something else. I got to go rewatch those highlights when we're done recording. Here's the deal with the Orioles, right? Corbin Burns is a free agent at the end of the season. They spent good prospect capital to get him. Not supplementing this team right now would be a disservice to themselves because they spent to get Burns, right? They've already put money into the pot, and I think they need to keep going. What that looks like is an open question. The obvious place to add here is pitching. I would be shocked if they trade for anything resembling a hitter. Anybody who owns a baseball bat should not be acquired by the Baltimore Orioles, right? Mm-hmm. They need help in the starting rotation. They lost John Means for the whole season. They lost Kyle Bradish for the whole season. They lost Tyler Wells, another starter, for the whole season. I think their rotation needs some help. Will they spend to get Crochet or Skubal? I'm kind of skeptical. I think in some ways Skubal makes more sense for them than Crochet does, because Crochet, the issue there is that he is going to probably be on some sort of innings limit for the remainder of the season, or you have to have some skepticism about how much he's going to throw because he's already surpassed his career high workload, right? Whereas for Skubal, like, you're trading for a straight up front line dude with fewer doubts. Now, I remain skeptical that Skubal will get traded. The Orioles are a team that could blow the Tigers away with a package if they believe that Skubal is the right guy to go all in for. Besides him, they're not going to trade for Jack Flaherty because they did that last year and it didn't go very well.
Yeah.
The
one team we could certainly rule out for that. Yeah.
Now, the two guys that I'm interested in for the Orioles are Nathan Eovaldi and Zach Eflin.
Okay.
Eovaldi, I believe, has a vesting option for next season. I think he is the type of arm that's like, he was amazing in the postseason last year, right? The Orioles could start him in a game 2 or a game 3 and feel pretty good about that. I think he and Eflin are players that they will focus on. If they decide not to go and get Skubal Crochet, anything below the Eovaldi Eflin range, I think, is a disappointment and is a disservice to their roster. Anything on the Orioles, or can I speed on to the Yankees?
I mean, I think Fetty's probably right at that line. Yep, that would be interesting.
I agree.
He would certainly be helpful. Obviously, he doesn't have the postseason resume, but I think in terms of what he's shown this season, I'm sure he could help them. But yeah, I think everything you said about the Orioles of Baltimore is accurate. Who do you want to talk about next?
The New York Yankees, who have 2 hitters and sometimes Ben Rice. That is where they need to upgrade. They need a bat. Now, in a weird way, the complete and total blahness of their offense gives them some flexibility because they can upgrade at a lot of different places because their offense has been bad in a lot of different places. Now, still, they are just a game back in the division. Despite all of their underwhelming play, the Yankees are in the mix. And so I think they need to go for it. Remember, everything I just said about the Orioles and Corbin Burns kind of applies to the Yankees and Juan Soto, right? Mm-hmm. They went out and spread all this stuff to go get Soto. He's been unbelievable for them. You hope that he's going to sign there long term. You don't know that. They owe it to themselves to compete as long as Soto is around. In my mind, this is the team that needs to go get an outfielder, which sounds very silly because they have Juan Soto and Aaron Judge. I understand Giancarlo is going to come back and it's going to complicate things, but Trent Grisham and Alex Verdugo have just both been so
I
underwhelming.
see. To me, man, I'm way more concerned about LeMahieu and whatever's happening in the infield. I know Ben Rice is not covered up. First of all, no matter what they do, they're going to end up with a very expensive bench and or IL. Are we expecting Rizzo back this season?
Expected back and should be playing is
I'm
different.
just like, I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Giancarlo. I'm looking at LeMahieu. I'm looking at Glaber, who's also in his last year, right? And it's like they are going to have a very difficult conversation with one of the people making a lot of money and saying, hey, dude, either you're not playing anymore, which is fine. Again, that's what they should be doing because you need to improve your team. But I don't think it's definitely the outfield. I guess is what I'm saying. Like, I just think that...
Okay. I'm going to push back.
Okay.
I agree that the bigger need is the infield. Who the heck is available?
Paredes, if the Rays.
They're not trading him. He has so much team control left.
Okay. All right.
Like, I understand. I think someone wrote that. I think Heyman or Joel Sherman wrote that. I'm skeptical. The Rays have a lot of guys that they should be trading.
Right. Rengifo is the other one, I would say. He's, I feel like, perfect in that sense.
Brandon Lau makes more sense to me for them as a left-handed bat in that stadium.
Sure.
That I could see. I just don't think I kind of want to crumble up. Like, Paredes is under team control till the end of 27. Like, that's just not something the Rays are going to do with an all-star player, in my opinion. Again, who knows?
Okay.
Who knows? But
Brandon
my point
Rodgers, is that, Jazz in the infield.
But that's the thing.
No, it's not easy. Again,
right.
I don't feel good about any of these hitters that are available. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's just the nature of the whole market. I mean, that's like, this is why you do not want to be having to look for offense. And if you're the Yankees, like Brent Rooker, I mean, again, if you want to put him out in the outfield, that would probably make your team better, but it would also make your defense something. So that's just the market. Sure.
One more name. Gio Urshela, the home run knocking fella. Could he? Not really. He's been pretty meh for the Tigers, but he is an infielder. And
they'd be happy to have him back, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure they would. All right, enough of the Yankees.
Sorry.
Enough of the Yankees. The Red Sox are the other team that plays the Yankees all the time. The Red Sox need a right-handed bat. That's kind of been their big bugaboo recently. Remember, they are going to get Tristan Casas at some point. He's a lefty. They lost Trevor Story for the year, and Vaughn Grissom is just not good. And
it's not happening. Maybe someday, but it's not happening right now.
So for the Red Sox, it's a right-handed bat and middle infield help, which again, as I just said, is just not something that is very available on the market. Luis Rengifo also very much fits them. He's a switch hitter. The Yankees Red Sox bidding war for Luis Rengifo is something to really keep your eye on.
Hey, it's just where Perry wants him. They really need a right-handed hitter. I mean, O'Neill, the right-handed hitters that they have regularly playing right now are O'Neill, Connor Wong, who's obviously been good, and then Rafaela, who, I mean, again, he hasn't been horrible, but like he's certainly not a hitter you're afraid of by any stretch when you're facing them. And then the bench, Rami Gonzalez, Jamie Westbrook, Rob Refsnyder. Like, listen, I think this Red Sox team's pretty good. And once they get Casas back, if they can have a right-handed hitter, now we really are talking about a very, very, very good lineup. But I just don't know who that is exactly.
Rengifo feels like a good fit. I also think they could use one more starter. I know that their starting rotation has been amazing this year. Injuries to...
It's been less amazing in July.
Yeah. Whitlock, losing Whitlock, I know it was a while ago, has kind of been tough to replace. They are currently going with Houck, Pivetta, Brian Bayo, Cutter Crawford, Cooper Criswell. Crawford and Criswell, I think I just would like one more arm. I know Cutter Crawford's been great, but I think he missed some time with injury, right?
Yeah, no, Crawford's been fine. Crawford hasn't missed any time. I know Pivetta has missed some time, and Criswell's kind of been up and down. Pivetta's the one that was injured, but yeah, I don't know. I agree that, I mean, Bayo is such an X factor for them. Like that was the guy, right? Opening day starter. And he's got a 5.3 ERA. Like that's someone that clearly he's not going anywhere, but that's just someone that has to be better in the second half if they definitely want to feel good about a postseason spot.
Potential fit for them. All 5 of those starters are right-handed. Trevor Rogers of the Marlins feels like someone who could get moved. Throws with the incorrect hand. Might be a fit for the Red Sox. 2 more teams here. the Tampa Bay Rays are a very important character in this year's deadline. The Rays are only 5.5 back in the American League, right? But this organization is smart or cynical enough to know that they're probably not good enough to win the World Series and probably not even good enough to make the playoffs. And if the Rays have any doubts, they are going to sell. And they have enough talent that who Tampa decides to deal and when will be a determining factor for the deadline as a whole. So who are those players? I already mentioned Brandon Lau. We already mentioned Randy. Pete Fairbanks has only one more year of control after this year. Yandy Diaz only has one more year of control after this year with a club option for 26 that I imagine they're just going to hang on to him because he's only making 8 this year, 10 next year, and 12 the following. So yeah, don't expect Yandy to get traded. Zach Eflin is set to make $18 million next year before becoming a free agent. He's definitely someone who could get traded. Zach Littell is a free agent in 2026. Randy has another year. So Randy, it's 24, 25, 26, then free agency. The Rays are going to pull the plug. They're going to trade a lot of these guys. I'm fascinated to see where everyone goes.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. The thing with Paredes, the only reason I keep mentioning him is like they are going to have to clear the runway for Caminero and Carson Williams at some point, and that's going to happen. Like Caminero has, again, it's amazing we haven't seen him play yet this season. And I hope that we do get to see him in the second half, one way or the other. But I just feel like that there is another wave that is already almost in Tampa. And I think if Paredes is one of the best hitters available, if he is the best hitter available, if Robert is not getting traded, then I wouldn't put it past him. But I hear what you're saying. That is definitely, obviously 3 more years is a long time for sure.
Toronto, they should trade everything because they stink. Toronto, what a disappointment. 9.5 games back of the wild card right now as it stands. The whole thing with them, right, is do they trade, extend Vlad, Bo? Do they trade both? Do they extend both? Do they trade one and extend the other?
I think that this is so difficult because I would guess if Bo Bichette did not have a 596 OPS, they would happily trade him and try to extend Vlad. But
if Bo Bichette didn't have a 596 OPS, they wouldn't be 9.5 games back.
They might be 7.5 games back. Like obviously if Bo was much better, yes, but he is not the only reason they are in this position. It is clearly just a flawed roster and it is just not happening for them. I would still be really surprised if they trade Vlad, and I would think they would try to trade Bo, but it's just like I just have no clue what his trade value is. Like in theory, this is not a situation like, again, this sounds extreme, right? But it's not like a Tim Anderson thing where it's like, holy crap, he's been so bad and he's going to leave. Like you could still trade for Bo, knowing that even if it doesn't get all the way corrected this year, you do have him for another season, and there is an all-star in there. So I have to imagine there is still some significant trade value there, but he's the one that is by far the most difficult to figure out from a trade value standpoint. And I think they're going to try. I think at the very least, all the guys that are, free agents, Justin Turner, Kikuchi, Kiermaier, some of the bullpen guys, maybe Danny Jansen, Trevor Richards, all those guys have to be available. And hopefully they can start to rejuvenate what is not a good farm system, and then try again next year with Vlad and Bo one more time. But that would be my expectation for what happens. But I still think Bo could definitely be on the move. Vlad, I would be surprised.
Chris Bassett is another interesting player here. He is under contract for $22 million for this season and for next season. Since May 22nd, that's 10 starts, his last 10 starts, he has a 2.29 ERA and a 2.89 FIP. This is still a player that you can start in a postseason game. I think we've kind of forgotten about it. He had such a horrible start to the season and has been pitching on an irrelevant team. Bassett is someone who I think if a team, like if the Jays are willing to eat a little bit of that money, I could see a team. I could see a team going out and getting a player like that. All right, that's the American League East.